Yes, Your Honor. Defense calls Nell dues. May I proceed?
Yep.
Good morning. Please introduce yourself to the members of the jury.
Of course. Good morning. My name is Nell Dews.
What do you do for a living, Miss Dews?
I'm actually a reality TV star, and it's my dream job. You know, I love talking, I love makeup, I love dismantling power and hierarchies constructed under harsh circumstances, and living my dream.
How'd you start out?
I used to work at Sephora, but I was so unfulfilled. And then I had this really deep heart-to-heart with my Pilates instructor, and I realized maybe I need a career change. Here I am.
What shows have you been on?
I've been on some smaller ones, but what really stays in my heart is season 8 of The Saboteurs. That was my big break.
Miss Dews, did you ever return to the Saboteurs?
Yeah, they invited me back for season 10. That was the recent season. It was an all-star one.
What was your role during this all-star season?
I was actually a saboteur. My teammates were Santiago Larson and Charlie Martin.
What was the role of a saboteur?
Saboteurs get to sabotage other contestants, and they get to legally cheat and mess with everyone.
Let's talk about if those challenges and the sabotages you mentioned seemed safe. What kind of challenges did you have to do?
There was a lot of different kinds, you know, puzzles, races, but there are some that were really out there. Like, there was one called Face Your Fears.
What did you have to do during Face Your Fears?
It's like what the title suggests, you know, contestants had to face their biggest fears, but, you know, for this one girl, she was scared of snakes. They put her in a coffin full of them.
Were there any other fears?
Yeah. Another contestant was scared of heights, so they put up this super thin tightrope between two of the hotel towers, and she had to walk across it.
Do you know what Miss Martin was doing during that challenge?
Charlie was being buried alive for 20 minutes.
Coffin filled with snakes, tightrope between two towers, buried alive. Did anyone get hurt?
No. I mean, I didn't know how they made it all look so real, but we were on set for a reality TV show, and I didn't see anyone get hurt at all.
In your experience, what did the show do to help you feel more safe?
So there was a ton of staff. If we had questions, we could ask, and there was safety protocols we had to follow, and even sabotages. Sometimes we had to check in with producers to get them approved.
So, did those sabotages make you feel less safe?
No. I mean, even with the sabotages, no one ever got hurt until...
Did you ever participate in a sabotage that wasn't producer approved?
Yeah. Even on my season, there were informal sabotages, those you don't have to check in with producers with, and formal sabotages, which you do have to check in with producers for.
I want to talk about if those informal sabotages seem safe. Did you know of any on season 10?
No, but producers actually told Charlie and me that we could do them.
Objection, Your Honor. Hearsay. This is an out-of-court statement being offered for the truth of the matter.
Your Honor, if I may be heard.
Sure.
We're not using this for the truth of the matter, but for the subsequent action that then Miss Martin, after hearing this, would do informal sabotages.
Response.
Yes, Your Honor. Then, in that case, I'd like to move my objection to calls for speculation. In order for this witness to testify as to what Miss Martin did as a result of production telling her these things, it requires Miss Dews to delve into the mindset of Miss Martin to definitively determine whether the producer saying that directly caused Miss Martin to do those things.
Actually, Your Honor, the testimony elicited was do informal sabotage. They told them. It's a command. So we don't have to lay the testimony that Miss Martin did do them. I apologize for my first response, but that they were told to, and a command has no inherent truth value.
Any last word?
Yes, Your Honor. Ms. Dews testified that these informal sabotages were not approved by production, so production doesn't really have that much knowledge as to what's going on since contestants didn't have to run those through producers. The producers didn't have a final say as to what these informal sabotages were, so there's no direct link between the producers telling Miss Martin to do informal sabotages and the specific informal sabotages done.
Your Honor, if I may be heard?
So, overruled.
Yes, Your Honor.
Yes, Your Honor. Ms. Dews, did producers tell you anything about informal sabotages on season 10?
Yeah, they told us this time to do them, which was weird because even in the previous seasons, we've never done that before.
And Ms. Dews, when was this conversation?
It was the first episode of the recent season.
So throughout the rest of the season, before Rob Armstrong passed, had anyone gotten hurt?
No, not at all.
Had anyone passed away on the show?
No, thankfully no.
Thank you, Ms. Dews. No further questions, Your Honor.
Cross-examination.
Sure.
Good morning, Ms. Dews.
Good morning.
I want to start off by talking about your role on set. You were a contestant,
Yeah, I was a saboteur.
and as part of that, your job wasn't to determine whether these challenges were safe or not.
No, that's up to producers.
That's right, your job was just to go through the challenges,
Yes, that's right.
and as a saboteur, help come up with sabotages.
Yes, ma'am.
You're familiar with season 2 of The Saboteurs?
Yeah, I watched it.
You watched the entire thing?
Yes, it was thrilling.
That's right, in season 2, the defendant was publicly betrayed by Mr. Armstrong.
Yeah.
The defendant and Mr. Armstrong had worked together as co-saboteurs the entire season.
Yeah, and then she got betrayed.
That's right. Miss Martin, she didn't leave the show quietly.
What do you mean by that?
She left the show crying,
Yeah, when she got eliminated, she started crying.
and those videos of her crying went viral over the internet.
Yeah, they did.
The defendant told you that this betrayal was embarrassing.
Yeah, it was.
She told you that her mother had a heart attack as a result of the stress,
It seemed pretty hard on her.
and you thought that the defendant blamed Mr. Armstrong for this.
Objection, Your Honor, to speculation, if I may be heard. For this witness to say what Miss Martin did and that Miss Martin blamed her mother's heart attack on Rob Armstrong would require this witness to delve into the mindset of Miss Martin. It is speculative.
Yes, Your Honor, this witness will testify that she had conversations with Miss Martin about this betrayal and that she thought that this was a result of, the stress was caused as a result of the betrayal.
Your Honor, may I be heard?
Sure.
We're fine with this witness saying there were conversations, that the mother had a heart attack, and if that's what Miss Martin told her, but to definitively say that Miss Martin blamed Mr. Armstrong is to delve into the mindset of Mr. Armstrong, or Miss Martin.
I'll overrule pending information.
Yes, Your Honor.
Miss Dews, you talked to Miss Martin a lot about the betrayal.
Yes?
She told you about the stress it caused her.
Yeah.
I want to see if that stress may have carried into season 10.
Okay.
On the first night of season 10, all the contestants had a dinner together,
Yeah, Riley was filming our first interactions.
but at that dinner, producers put Miss Martin and Mr. Armstrong right across from each other at the table.
Yeah, from season 2 they had that rivalry, so they put them right there.
That's right, and the entire time you saw Miss Martin staring and glaring intensely.
Yeah.
And it didn't just stop there.
What do you mean by that?
The defendant slammed her hands on the table.
Yeah.
And she said, "This time, I'm going to murder you."
It was an incredible line.
She said, "I'll get you. For real this time."
No, not in that dinner.
The defendant didn't say those words during those dinners.
Not during the dinner. She said, "This time I'm going to murder you." That means eliminate. And then when she was walking off, she was saying something else.
Is it your sworn testimony here today that the defendant did not say, "I'll get you for real this time" during that dinner?
Yeah?
At this time, I'm approaching opposing counsel with what has been previously marked as the affidavit of no accused. Yes, 111. Ma'am, do you remember preparing an affidavit in preparation for this?
Yes, I did.
You know you had until opening statements today to change that affidavit?
That's right.
This is your affidavit.
Thank you.
If you could flip to the very end. That's your signature at the bottom.
That's right.
If you could read out lines 111 for me.
Oh, I'm so sorry. And I couldn't hear it exactly because I was at the other end of the table. But I'm pretty sure that as Charlie was walking away, Charlie said, "I'll get you for real this time." So you can see she didn't say that at the dinner. She was walking away, and that's what I thought she might have heard. Excuse me. That's what I thought I heard.
Ma'am, she was walking away from the dinner.
Yeah, that's why she wasn't at the dinner and saying it.
Objection, Your Honor. Hearsay on grounds of improper impeachment. May I be heard?
Sure.
Yes, opposing counsel is trying to use this witness's affidavit to express a contradiction that this happened during the dinner, but as this witness just testified, this actually happened after the dinner. Therefore, there is no direct contradiction, and the statements made in this affidavit are hearsay.
Response, Your Honor? This was made as the defendant was leaving the dinner. That means she was at the dinner and actively walking away, which would mean she was still in the setting of the dinner.
Your Honor, if I may. During this interaction with the slamming the hands on the table, the cameras were rolling. It was a filmed dinner. This interaction happened after the cameras were off, which signified to the contestants and the rest of the crew the dinner was over and the defendant was walking away after the dinner had concluded.
I'm gonna overrule the objection.
Yes, Your Honor.
Permission to retrieve the exhibit.
Here you go.
So after the defendant had what you thought been said was, "I'll get you for real this time," the defendant had said those words? Or you believed the defendant said those words?
Yes, that's right.
And following that dinner, that night, you had a meeting with producers.
We did?
You found out that you were a saboteur this season,
Yeah, it was pretty exciting.
along with the defendant.
That's right.
And that night, you and the defendant started to cook up some ideas for informal sabotages.
We were cooking all right.
And the defendant, she suggested drugging Mr. Armstrong's water bottle.
Yeah, so that's out of bounds for the rules, and the producers told us that.
Right, but the defendant had suggested that.
Yeah,
The defendant suggested adding rat poison to Mr. Armstrong's breakfast,
yeah, definitely not allowed.
but the producers didn't approve that challenge.
That's right.
To which the defendant responded, "If not now, I'll get him later."
That's what I thought she said, yeah.
Ma'am, you watched the entirety of The Saboteur season 10.
Yes, I did. Sorry, I was on it, so I was like, yeah, of course.
Right. that you were eliminated.
Oh yeah, I was.
So you watch the rest of it?
Yes.
You'd recognize excerpts from that if I showed it to you?
Oh, yes.
At this time, Your Honor, I'm approaching opposing counsel with what has been previously marked as Exhibit 24. Approaching the witness with the same. Courtesy copy for Your Honor. I've just handed you the transcripts from Season 10.
Yes.
They're fair and accurate.
Looks to be so.
People move to admit Exhibit 24 into evidence.
Promotions in limine, no objection.
Mike Poison.
If I could direct your attention to page 5, lines 194.
I'm there.
It says, the defendant's words, Rob is going down. I'll go as far as it takes to end him.
That's what it says.
And the defendant didn't say, I'll go as far as it takes to murder him.
No, I believe ending's a synonym to that. I'm not sure.
I'm not asking you what ending means. I'm asking you that the defendant didn't say murder.
Yeah, it doesn't say that here.
She said end.
That's right.
If I could direct your attention to page 7, lines 307 to 309.
I'm there.
The defendant says, Rob needs to die, and I want his blood on my hands.
Yeah, that's what she says here. Super dramatic.
But the defendant said those words towards Mr. Armstrong.
No, it says she's saying it in a confessional. And confessionals are basically when you're talking to a camera alone in a reality TV show. I've done so many of them.
That's right, I said towards Mr. Armstrong, not to Mr. Armstrong.
Sorry, do you mean about Mr. Armstrong?
Yes, it says
yes.
Rob.
Yes, that's what, okay. I understand now, thank you.
If I could direct your attention to page 8, line 351. Here, the show host asks the contestants to pick their poison,
That's right.
to which the defendant responds, wait, I get to poison him? For real this time? With what? I'm pretty sure he's alert.
Sorry, I just cut you off.
That's okay. The script cut off as well. Perfect timing.
Yes, okay. Yes, that's exactly what it says.
Ma'am, during season 10, you saw the defendant holding a bottle of oxalic acid.
Oh, yes, yes. She was putting it away.
You saw her holding that bottle in the basement.
The supply closet? Yeah.
Oxalic acid, the same poison that killed Mr. Armstrong?
I don't...
Objection, Your Honor. Lack of personal knowledge, if I may be heard.
Sure.
This contestant was eliminated before Rob Armstrong's passing, did not know the events that transpired after her elimination, and she hasn't been here in counsel today as she was sequestered. So this witness has no foundation of how she knows how Rob Armstrong died, or whether or not it was oxalic acid that did kill him. This witness lacks personal knowledge.
How does this witness know that it was oxalic acid?
Your Honor, I can rephrase the question.
Okay, just stay.
Yes, Your Honor.
Ma'am, you saw the defendant holding a bottle which said oxalic acid.
That's right.
Thank you, Ms. Dews. No further questions at this time.
No redirect. We just ask Ms. Dews be excused.
Excuse, thank you.
Thank you.
Permission to retrieve the exhibit.
Of course.
Defense calls Dr. Michael Lynn. Good morning.
Good morning.
Please, ma'am, introduce yourself to the jury.
Hi, my name is Michael Lynn.
What do you do for a living?
I'm the chief psychologist at the Forensic Evaluation Center. Most people call it the FEC.
What does it mean to be chief psychologist at the FEC?
Among other things, we evaluate contestants on game shows to determine any psychological risks that may be present in a high-pressure competition setting.
How long have you been a psychologist, doctor?
Over 20 years now?
And how'd you get involved with this case?
I was asked to evaluate Miss Martin and determine whether there were any psychological factors that may have influenced how she perceived risk and safety while filming the saboteurs.
We'll get to that evaluation in a second. First, I want the jury to get a sense of your background. Where'd you go to school?
I got my bachelor's in science in psychology from Carnegie Mellon, and then I got my doctorate of psychology from Pepperdine.
All right, doctor. Let's get to that evaluation. Did you review any materials during your analysis for this case?
Yes. Along with the interview that I conducted with Ms. Martin, I reviewed footage from multiple seasons of the saboteurs, as well as Ms. Martin's pre-show psych evaluation performed by the studio.
Were those materials sufficient for your analysis?
Yes, they were.
Did you use any particular method when analyzing those materials?
I did. I used what we call the BET method. That looks at the subject's behavior, environment, and thought process. It's seen as the gold standard in the field.
And were you able to reliably apply the BET method to the facts of this case?
Yes, I was.
Doctor, how does that method work?
I looked at Miss Martin's behavior during our interview, her environment while filming the saboteurs, and analyzed how her thought process operated during that time.
And were you able to come to a conclusion?
I was, yes.
What was that conclusion, doctor?
I concluded that the setting that Ms. Martin was placed in during filming of the saboteurs likely had an impact on how she perceived risk and safety at the time of Mr. Armstrong's death.
Could you walk us through each step of the BET method one by one? Tell us how you got to that conclusion.
I sure can.
Let's start with that first part, behavior. How'd you go about analyzing Miss Martin's behavior?
During our interview, I paid attention to changes in her emotional intensity, stress response, and level of focus when we recounted different events from her time on the saboteurs.
Do you know which seasons Miss Martin competed in?
Yes, seasons 2 and 10.
What did you observe during your discussions with Miss Martin about season 2?
For the majority of our conversation about season 2, Miss Martin was relatively calm. Her mood was stable, and she was able to talk about that period without any noticeable distress.
Doctor, did Miss Martin's mood ever shift?
It did.
How so?
When we began discussing the ending and aftermath of season 2, Miss Martin's emotional intensity increased noticeably.
What were you two discussing when her emotional intensity increased?
She was explaining to me that she felt publicly humiliated by her loss to Rob Armstrong at the end of season 2. She had been attacked online and also carried a tremendous amount of guilt related to her mother's heart attack when season 2 aired.
Did you and Miss Martin ever discuss her experiences on season 10?
We did. When we began discussing season 10, Miss Martin's body language shifted noticeably. She became very closed off, and there was noticeable tension.
Dr. Lynn, are those reactions unusual?
No. That's the typical response that we would expect from somebody who's been re-exposed to an environment that they associate with a past trauma.
Well, let's get to that second part of your analysis then. Environment. What did you observe about Miss Martin's environment during season 10?
It's clear to me that Ms. Martin was placed in a extremely high pressure risk-taking environment.
What do you mean by that, Doctor?
Contestants on the show were repeatedly told that sabotages were managed, planned, and expected by the production team.
Dr. Lin, did Miss Martin ever tell you what the producers told her?
Yes. She said the producers told her that dramatic sabotages were part of the show's design, and that there were numerous safety protocols in place to prevent any harm from reaching the contestants.
Do you know if Miss Martin believed those assurances?
I do, she told me.
What did she tell you?
She told me that she believed production oversight acted as a safety net.
Doctor, how is that significant psychologically?
When people believe that there's a system in place to prevent any catastrophic outcomes, they're more likely to take risks that they otherwise wouldn't.
Did you see any evidence that that could have occurred on the saboteurs?
Yes. Contestants on the show across multiple seasons carried out increasingly extreme sabotages that seemed dangerous, but they never resulted in any harm.
All right, Doctor.
Objection, Your Honor. Lack of foundation, if that may be heard. Dr. Mecca Lynn has not testified that she knows anything about any of the sabotages that occurred on the saboteurs, and I would like opposing counsel to lay that foundation.
Response.
Yes, Your Honor. Initially, Dr. Lin did testify that she's watched footage of the saboteurs. She has knowledge of what's been going on in the show, and she can testify to that.
Is that sufficient?
Yes, Your Honor.
Dr. Lin, let's get to that third part of your method then, thought process. What did you observe about the thought process of Miss Martin?
Well, so the thought process part of the method looks at how an individual connects what they do with what they think will happen as a result. I believe that Miss Martin's thought process was influenced by the environment of the show.
How, Doctor?
Miss Martin's thought process seemed to have been redirected. From what she told me, Miss Martin's thought process relied heavily on the show's safety structure, rather than her own independent risk assessment.
Dr. Lin, is that normal?
No, it's not.
Why not?
In a normal situation, we would expect an individual to be able to easily connect a potentially harmful action with a dangerous result.
Does that change in an environment like a game show?
It can, yes.
Did you see any evidence that that could have happened on the saboteurs?
Yes. Each prior sabotage that was successful without harm likely contributed to a false sense of security.
Doctor, could that false sense of security have affected Miss Martin?
Yes. I concluded that the environment that Miss Martin was placed in during the filming of the saboteurs likely had an impact on how she perceived risk and safety. And it's possible that she may not have associated an extreme action with a deadly result.
Thank you, Dr. Lin. No further questions, Your Honor.
Cross-examine.
Yes, Your Honor.
Whenever you're.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I'd like to start off with how you evaluated the defendant.
Okay,
You gathered information about the defendant through pre-screening emails,
that's right.
but you didn't speak to the psychologist who did the pre-screen.
No, I did not.
And in your interview with Charlie Martin, she never told you that she was diagnosed with borderline PTSD.
No, I made that conclusion by reviewing the pre-show psych evaluations.
Right, she never mentioned it in your interview.
No, Ms. Martin was not aware of that diagnosis.
And you didn't visit the set of the saboteurs in your evaluation.
That's right.
You didn't interview any other production staff about what happened that day.
No, I was tasked with interviewing Miss Martin.
You didn't interview any contestants.
I interviewed Miss Martin.
And again, you did not speak to the show's psychologist.
That performed the psych evaluation?
That's right.
That's right.
So your evaluation is largely based on the defendant's own words.
In part, I would say so.
Now I want to move on to your forensic conclusion. You concluded you tested the defendant for legal insanity.
I did, yes.
And there's two components to that.
Correct.
The first one being behavioral control,
Correct.
and the second one being the ability to understand harm.
That's right.
But Dr. Lin, the defendant isn't qualified to be legally insane, is she?
That's right.
And that's because on the day Mr. Armstrong died, the defendant was able to understand the harm that her sabotage could do.
That's not correct.
Objection, Your Honor, as to 704B. If I may be heard.
Sure.
The question explicitly states an opinion about whether the defendant did or did not have a mental state that constitutes an element of the crime. That is explicitly not allowed under 704B.
Response.
Your Honor, I'm asking Dr. Lin about the forensic conclusions, which she wrote in her report, which are allowed on cross-examination.
What's your response in 704B?
I'm simply asking Dr. Lin whether or not the defendant was able to understand the harm that her sabotage could do. I'm not asking Dr. Lin to testify whether or not that sabotage ultimately caused Mr. Armstrong's cause of death.
Your Honor, if I may be heard.
Sure.
That's completely the issue here. We're not even talking about the causation of what caused Rob Armstrong's death. Specifically, the mental state that Miss Martin had when she took those actions. That's exactly what isn't allowed under Rule 704B, especially in that moment.
Why is this different from all the testimony we heard on direct about how she might or may not have had the knowledge to know that what her actions would cause harm?
Yes, Your Honor. If I may turn your attention to a piece of case law,
Sure.
State v. Durden on page 2. I believe it's under tab 3 in your bench book. I may be wrong.
What page is it?
Should be page 2. State v. Durden.
Yes.
The defendant shall be permitted to present evidence of the mens rea at the time of the offense, and they may also present evidence that calls into question the ability to form the requisite mens rea for the charged offense. That's all we were doing on direct examination, Your Honor. Just calling into question Miss Martin's ability to form the requisite mens rea, not actually concluding that she did or did not have that mens rea at the time of the charged offense.
So your read of State v. Durden is that you guys can talk about it, but they can't rebut it?
No, Your Honor, we're not specifically talking about Miss Martin's mens rea when she committed the charged offense. We're just giving relevant evidence that can help to call into question her ability to form it, whether she likely may have had some sort of mental impairment or belief, not that she did. The question that opposing counsel asked definitively asked about Miss Martin's state in that moment.
Response.
Dr. Micah Lin concluded in her forensic evaluation, if I may proffer, Your Honor,
Sure.
that Charlie Martin, the defendant, was in fact capable of understanding the harm that her sabotage could do, but that there were underlying factors that may have influenced her. That is not a conclusive statement, but that is simply Dr. Micah Lin's conclusion that I'm asking her about.
Yeah, that kind of seems in line with facts underlying what State v. Durden was talking about, isn't that? I guess I'm not seeing the difference between what you did on direct and what she's doing now.
Your Honor, I'm specifically objecting to the wording of opposing counsel's question that definitively stated that Miss Martin had a certain mental state at the time of the charged offense. What we did on direct examination was during the show, otherwise how her mental state could have been effective. Just what Dr. Lin concluded may have affected Miss Martin, not whether it did.
Your Honor, a response?
Sure.
On cross-examination, Dr. Lin is allowed to further clarify and explain her final conclusions in the case. I'm not asking her for definitive cause or yes or no.
Yeah, I think I'll overrule the objection. My understanding of the question was whether she was capable of understanding that her actions could cause the deceased harm.
Yes, Your Honor.
Yes, Your Honor.
So, Dr. Lin, on the day that Mr. Armstrong died, the defendant was able to understand the harm that her sabotage could do.
No, that's not correct.
In your forensic conclusion, did you not conclude that the defendant was not able to understand the harm?
At the time of Mr. Armstrong's death, no, I did not.
On the day that Mr. Armstrong died, is that your sworn testimony?
Is what my smart? On the day that Armstrong died, what?
On the day that Mr. Armstrong died, was the defendant able to understand the harm that her sabotage could do?
No.
I'm approaching opposing counsel with the forensic evaluation of Dr. Micah Lin. I'm approaching the witness with the safe. And would Your Honor like a courtesy copy?
That'd be great.
This is your forensic evaluation,
It is.
and it's fair and accurate.
That's right.
And if you flip to the back.
Yep.
That is your signature.
It is.
And you swore to take an oath of truthfulness when you wrote this evaluation.
Yes, ma'am.
And you knew that you had until opening statements here today to make any changes to this.
Yes, ma'am.
So please read in your head as I read aloud on lines 152 to 153. Martin's.
Oh, I'm on the last page.
Oh, yes.
Isn't that where I'm supposed to be?
Yes.
There's no line 150 anything on here.
Oh, excuse me. 452.
Okay.
Excuse me. Read in your head as I read aloud. Martin's MSE and RCRAS scores indicate that Martin was able to appreciate the potential harm of using something like oxalic acid in a breathing device. So, Dr. Lin, on the day that Mr. Armstrong died, Miss Martin was able to understand the harm that her sabotage could do.
Once again, that's not correct.
She was not able to understand the harm that her sabotage could do.
The tests that I indicate here in my report were performed after Mr. Armstrong's death. After Mr. Armstrong's death, she was able to appreciate the harm of using oxalic acid in a breathing device. I can't indicate whether or not she was able to appreciate that on the day of Mr. Armstrong's death.
If you'll read ahead on 450 as I read aloud. Charlie Martin's actions against Rob Armstrong immediately prior to.
Excuse me, that doesn't, in 450? Okay, I'm here, sorry.
Immediately prior to and during the challenges of season 10, episode 9, were because Martin was legally insane as defined by the Midlands Penal Code. You cannot state with a reasonable degree of psychological certainty that her actions against Rob Armstrong were because she was legally insane.
That's correct. Miss Martin did not meet the legal definition of insanity.
That's right. She was able to understand the behavior. She was able to control her behavior, right?
In the report, I say that I cannot conclude that she was unable to control her behavior. I cannot say with certainty that she was able to control her behavior.
Her scores indicate that she was unable to control her behavior.
No, they do not.
Objection, Your Honor. Hearsay as to improper impeachment, if I may be heard. There actually is no contradiction stated here, and if we can turn your attention to later in the report, specifically lines 466 to 469, ultimately, whether it is due to emotional manipulation or a false sense of security in the safety protocols implemented by the production crew, the undersigned states to a reasonable degree of scientific certainty that Ms. Martin did not believe Martin's actions would result in the death of Rob Armstrong. That's exactly what Dr. Lin is testifying to. There's no contradiction.
Your Honor, if I may be heard?
Sure.
I'm specifically asking Dr. Lin about her forensic conclusion regarding her MSE and her RCRAS results, not her overall clinical opinion.
Your Honor, if I may be heard?
Sure.
Dr. Lin testified that those tests that she based that conclusion off of were about Ms. Martin's mental state after she took those tests, not during the show. The conclusion she makes about Ms. Martin's belief during the show is on lines 467 to 469.
I'm going to overrule, but ask that we move on.
Yes, Your Honor.
Well, now I want to move on to some of the statements that the defendant made. She told you that Riley Kay wanted her to hurt Mr. Armstrong,
That's correct.
and she also told you that production pressured her,
That's right.
and the pressure was in the way production filmed scenes.
Along with the statements made by the production to Ms. Martin. That's right.
That's right, the way that production asked contestants to act.
That's right.
But Dr. Lin, you actually found out that Riley Kay never said those statements to the defendant.
That's right.
In
I
fact,
could, excuse me, go ahead.
in fact, no production staff said those statements either,
That's right.
and no other contestants did.
That's right.
And so the only person who told you that she was being manipulated by Riley Kay was the defendant,
Yes, she's the only person I interviewed.
and she's the same person currently here today on trial for murder.
That's right.
Thank you, Dr. Lin. No more further questions at this time.
Brief redirect, Your Honor. Dr. Lin, in your professional opinion, do you believe Ms. Martin could have believed her actions would result in Rob Armstrong's death while on the show?
No, I do not.
Thank you, Dr. Lin. No further questions, Your Honor.
Redirect? Or any recross?
No, Your Honor.